Welcome to the Barry Foster Show, not coming to you from the Ridge Floor Studios in the City of Charm, beautiful downtown Avon Park. We are in Highlands County's newest sports attraction, the Baseball Museum, adjacent to the Avon Park Depot Museum. And we have with us Nancy Fisk and Doc Sevigny, who are the driving force behind this. And good to have you guys with us. Nancy, this has been so far 3 years of an odyssey for you, is that right?
That's right. 3 years ago, Doc and Marva Turner came to our board meeting and suggested that we should build an addition onto the museum to house the baseball history. Now, I had heard a rumor of this beforehand, and I came in prepared to say, this is too big a project, we're too small a group, there's no way. It would be too expensive, we can't do it. But after about 15 minutes, when they gave us their idea and talked about some of the people who would be featured, and we realized that 100 years, well, we could work up to the 100 years mark, and if we could get it done by the 100-year mark, the 100th anniversary of Head Field, it would be amazing. And it's true that since we started this project, we've lost 3 of the championship ball players from the high school. They've passed away. Doc interviewed one man who was a pitcher, and he gave us his high school cleats and his team jacket.
Wow.
And talked with Doc 2 or 3 times, and after Doc interviewed him for like the 3rd time, he passed away about 2 months later. So that really brought it home to us that this history would always be here, but there would be no one to tell it if we didn't do something. And so 100 years is too much to tell in 1 or 2 exhibits. And so we knew that it wouldn't fit in the existing museum. Right now, we're chock-a-block full with things that, tell the rest of the history of Avon Park, and we have things stored so we have to rotate exhibits. But there just wasn't room for this 100 years. So this was necessary.
How was this greeted after you got the idea from Marva Turner and Doc Sevigny? How was this greeted by the rest of the group? Did they embrace this? They said, "Yeah, we can do this thing here. I got a shovel at the house. Let's get started."
Well, no, like I told you, I was prepared to just kind of say, okay, well, we can't do it, but it didn't take long. To hear them tell about what was involved, and the rest of the group we were sold. We knew we had to do it.
So, Doc, let me ask you. I guess today at the soft opening, you had the dedication. You said Marva Turner. She'd been pushing for this the whole way. Did this come out of like a 3-martini lunch or something? She said, let's go down to the depot and have lunch and talk about this? Or how did this work out exactly?
No, actually, she called me and she said, you know a lot of the baseball history because you've been involved in baseball with your 3 sons playing ball and you just being at Head Field a lot and knowing a lot of the baseball history. Would you consider, helping to put a museum together, And so I met with her and she talked me into doing it.
I understand that the Red Sox were here in the early 20s, and that's the only time that you can't find the newspapers to account for what happened at Head Field with the professional team coming in.
Yeah, it was actually the St. Louis Cardinals that came here.
I'm sorry, yes.
And they were invited here, and we built the ball field for them in 25 and 26. And it was it's a Major League ball field built under the specifications and guidance of Major League Baseball. So Head Field is actually a Major League ball field. And so the ball field, that was one of the conditions to bring the St. Louis Cardinals here. They had to have a professional Major League ball field. So the city of Avon Park actually did the construction of a Major League ball field here in 1925 and 1926 to bring the Cardinals here in 1927.
As you begin, I know you collect a lot of baseball memorabilia. You got this giant Babe Ruth bat and some other things. Have you been able to come by any of that kind of memorabilia of the games here in Avon Park?
Well, we have quite a number of pictures. It was interesting. Joe Murphy, just a local agricultural guy, discovered in an attic in Sebring a number of historic pictures from that time in the late 1920s. He had like a dozen pictures of Babe Ruth here and Lou Gehrig and the St. Louis Cardinals. And so with those pictures, we identified the people in the pictures, and they're all part of the museum here. We've actually blown some of them up, and so that's really a treasure. You know, like you say, we have all the old newspapers from way back, except for the time when the Cardinals were here. Somebody pilfered those newspapers, and there's no copies in the archives in Tallahassee or anything. So we're missing a lot of that information.
Have you reached out to the Cardinals organization at all? Are there any Cardinal historians that go, oh yeah, you know, we know about this, or we are going to dig into this because this is part of our history as well?
Yeah, Judy and I went to St. Louis, spent 3 days at the Cardinal Museum, which is an unbelievable museum, and it talked about all the history back in the 1920s. So we got a lot of information from them about the players that played here in the 1920s and even all through the 1930s.
Did you find out anything unusual or interesting that happened during those years while they were here to practice?
Story after story. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, there's just so many stories. The St. Louis Cardinals was a very young team. They were the team that started the farm system. They didn't have any money, so they decided to start a farm system. So they brought 3,000 young men in 1 year into their farm system and tried to identify the best athletes and brought them up into their Major League program. And that's how they got the talent to win the World Series in 1926 out of their farm system. But they also had an old guy, Grover Cleveland Alexander, and he was 40 years old, and an old guy, and he made Babe Ruth look like a
spring chicken.
Like a saint, because he was a hard drinker, a cusser. Oh, he's quite a man.
Really?
Yeah, Armand. He was when they
The movie never showed any of that part.
Yeah, when he came here to Avon Park, stayed at the Jacaranda. It was like boot camp in those days. They had a curfew, and they had strict instructions about drinking and all that stuff. He broke curfew all the time. He was just terrible.
Well, it was interesting because, and the reason I thought about the Red Sox is because they used to play up in Winter Haven, and the Sox were there, and I said, well, how is it to play in a small town like this? He says, we love a town like this. They roll up the sidewalks at 4:00. All our kids think about is baseball, and they don't. There's no nightlife here for them to get in any trouble. So Avon Park back then, especially 100 years ago, was much the same way. It was a very quiet little town, so all they thought about was baseball.
Exactly. And in those days, the teams would gather in the north, come down on the train, and wives, girlfriends, families were discouraged from coming because they didn't want the distraction. They wanted this to be truly a boot camp. So I thought that was interesting, that when they came down here, it was supposed to be hard preparation and boot camp.
Because they stayed at the Jacaranda, have they found anything in the attic of the Jack or anything that was of use here?
They had a few old pictures. Interesting is they had some really good pictures, and what happened, Barry, is somebody at one point stole a number of pictures. They had no idea. All of a sudden, the pictures disappeared, and they have no idea who took those pictures. And they were in the lobby of the Jacaranda, and all of a sudden, they're gone.
Well, hopefully someday they will reappear.
Reappear.
Because baseball collectors can't help but not share those kinds of things. And there was more than just the Cardinals, though. Was there not a Hasidic Jewish team, the House of David? Did they not come and play here?
Yeah, the House of David team was a real famous team in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. A really talented baseball team. Kind of in the order of the Harlem Globetrotters. They were a very talented team of ball players that would play against every major league team, and they could play in a par with every major league team. They were actually a religious sect from Michigan, but they traveled all over, not only the United States, but the world. And they came here in 1933 and did spring training here. And when they did, young men came from all over the country to try to make that team because it was such a popular team. And that team, if you were on the House of David team, you were not supposed to cut your hair.
Yes.
And you weren't supposed to drink alcohol. You couldn't cuss. There were a bunch of
Yes.
rules, but kids wanted to make that team, so they came to Avon Park.
You know, is it lost on you that the one game in 1932 was played on April Fool's Day? It played April 1st of 1932. It was. I'm looking here, and we're sitting in the new under development Avon Park Baseball Museum, and I know that some of the stuff hasn't been put in, but these murals are spectacular. They did a fabulous job with these.
Yeah, on that South of David team, the most famous game that year is when Dizzy Dean came over and with the St. Louis Cardinals and played the House of David team, and actually the score was 3-2. The Cardinals beat him, but it was a game. It was a good game. And Dizzy Dean, you can imagine, he's only second to Babe Ruth as far as popularity. So the crowd at Head Field was, they say, more people there than the entire population of Avon Park for that game.
Oh yeah, they pulled him from all over everywhere. That's back when baseball was the national pastime. You've honored the St. Louis Cardinals, but there's some local guys here that have done very well in baseball. You have Hal MacRae, you have Thomas Flash Gordon. So did you get much help from professional baseball players who wanted to see this thing happen here?
Oh yeah, they've been very supportive. Thomas Flash Gordon has been here for all of our events, and he and his sons Dee and Nick, have just been very cooperative. And Hal MacRae's been wonderful. He and his wife have come over for all the events and are encouraging us. And not only that, is once the museum opens, they're open to being here for events, to bring people in. They're so recognizable that people from outside of our area see those recognizable names, and that brings them to our city.
Now, I know that at Head Field they actually played some games back in the 20s, but here in the recent past, you recreated a game from the 1920s, and let the record show that Doc is in his Babe Ruth uniform right now, his Yankees uniform. We won't hold that against you. It should be a Cardinals uniform. But at any rate, you had a game where you encouraged the people to dress up in period dress. You made a movie or a film out of that, didn't you?
Exactly. We had people dressed vintage. We had some people dressed as the House of David players, some St. Louis Cardinal players, Babe Ruth, and we filmed the game, and it was just a fun time. It was just a slapstick type game, but it was a lot of fun.
Now, what have you got yet to go in here? You've got the murals set up. You got the display cases that are not populated yet, but there's going to be some interactive television, other kinds of displays?
Exactly. We want this to be very interactive, so we're going to have a lot of interactive. We're going to have 2 large interactive televisions and a lot of smaller ones, and we're going to use artificial intelligence to recreate a lot of different situations. It's amazing what people can do now with artificial intelligence, and we have a really talented company that's going to be working with us for that. It's going to be amazing. Like we'll have, when people come into the museum, actually Babe Ruth will be welcoming them to the museum. We will see him speaking to the people as they come in.
So now tell me about these giant concrete baseballs that you have out in front here.
Right. We saw that at Major League Stadium, and we thought that was really neat. So we said we need to have that, so that when people come down Main Street, they really, it really very.
That's how we give directions.
Makes them
Left at the baseballs.
Yeah, they actually are 1 ton each. They come from Wisconsin. It was quite a project to get them down here. But 3 1-ton baseballs on Main Street.
It's an amazing landmark that you put in. Nancy, let me ask you: has this been a bunch of traffic direction for you, because you're running the museum on a day-to-day basis? Do you have to kind of pardon our dust as we put the new baseball museum in?
Well, I spend a lot of time at the chamber as well. Oops.
No, you're right.
Is it
You're
on?
good.
Okay.
You're good.
I spend a lot of time at the chamber as well, the Chamber of Commerce, and so I direct people up here. And once the baseballs were installed, I can say, they say, there's a museum here? Yes, you can just go up Main Street and turn left at the baseballs and you'll see it. But actually, we have kept the museum open, the regular, the original part, Right now, it's kind of in disarray because we've moved some things around so that we can, actually, we've created more display space we're going to hang the spinning wheel that we have from the ceiling, and we've just done some other things. But one of the things that I've really enjoyed, Doc has told me so many baseball stories that when I'm leading the tour, I'll say, "Are you a baseball fan?" And if they say yes, I have so many stories we can tell them. And people just can't wait for this part to open. There are three things two especially, that people need to know. Well, three that are important things that Avon Park, baseball history. The mercy rule in baseball began right here in Avon Park.
Oh, really?
And I can't remember the exact score, but it was something like 42-3 or something when J.R. Walker, what are his initials? Walker, anyway, in the 40s was pitching. J.C. Walker has a brother named Mo. He was a year younger, I believe, and one was a pitcher and one was a catcher. When the one got tired, they'd switch places and pitch and catch for each other. And it was a district game, and the score was like 42-3 or something. And after that happened, the district board, whoever was the governing board at the time, got together and they said, "This is not going to happen anymore. If somebody has 10 runs at the end of at the end of 5 or something like that," they created that rule. And it's a mercy rule now in Little League and high school baseball. And that started here in Avon Park. Now, there were probably other places that had that situation, but it was the district governing board of baseball that made that decision here in Avon Park, and that was a landmark decision. And the other thing is that very few ball players have a rule named for them, and Hal MacRae has a rule named for him.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, it's kind of an infamous thing, but it's a rule in Little League Baseball all the way up through the majors. A runner going into second has to slide if there's a play. They have to slide or they're automatically out if they don't slide. Because Hal MacRae went to Florida A&M and had one of his coaches, he played football there as well, not just baseball, he played football there and excelled at that too. And one of his coaches taught him how to break up a double play. And as he was running into second, he just body launched himself at the fielder and took him out.
Oh my.
And that broke up the double play. And he got away with it in college. And for the first couple of years in the majors, when he was signed by Kansas City, they were playing the Yankees, and he took out Willie Randolph. And Billy Martin was not having it.
Yeah.
And when they appealed to the commissioners, tell me if I'm getting this wrong. When they appealed to the commissioners, they made that rule that henceforth runners had to slide into second, and it was named the Hal MacRae rule.
Let the record show that Doc is nodding yes. She's fine with this story. You have so much in here. Has the opening of this facility kind of siphoned off some of the stuff that was in the other museum, the other end of the museum, to make up some room so you can put more things out?
Well, that's true. We have, since this project started, well, even before this project started, we had a picture of Tom Flash Gordon and Hal MacRae in one of the rooms. We have a picture of the Hopewell School, which was the black elementary school, and because Hal went to E.O. Douglas, of course, and they had a championship team in the 60s as well. So there's that history along with Avon Park High School. But we did have some baseball history in there. Doc had loaned us his Babe Ruth bat, and so that was there. And so once we started this project, we had one case that had a lot of baseball memorabilia, so we could tell those stories. And so that's why people have really anticipated being able to come in here and see this.
Have you noticed cross-pollination, people who come to the Avon Park Museum who didn't know about the baseball history, or people who've coming to see the baseball stuff and didn't know about Brown and Serve rolls? Or
Exactly.
The other part of the history.
We can surprise people with so many things here in Avon Park. There is a lot of history besides baseball history, and that's why we didn't change the name of the museum. This is the baseball exhibits, but it's still the Depot History Museum, because it's all of Avon Park. But there are so many amazing things. Like, for example, the first armored vehicle used by the military was created by a man in Avon Park, from Avon Park.
I did not know that.
Colonel Royal Davidson was a military instructor in Illinois, and he and his students built the first armored vehicle. And there are stories that go along with that. So if people are interested in the military, that's a fun story to tell. So there are all kinds of things. We have the linotype machine in there from the Avon Park Sun, and some people are really fascinated with that. We have a film that people can see to see how that works. And there are just a lot of, every small town probably has their heroes and their interesting little quirky facts, but Avon Park has a lot of them.
And, of course, on the other side, you have the baseball museum on this side. On the other side of the museum is the rail car, that the Zephyr there that you use for different events, and is also part of Avon Park's rich history with the railroads.
That's one of our best fundraisers, is the luncheons that we have over there. Yesterday, we served 40 ladies from Crystal Lake a 3-course meal. They come and they have a tour of the museum, and then they eat lunch over there. And it was such a fun group. We really had a good time. We try to do, during season, we probably do like one luncheon a week. And that's really helping us pay our electric bills and everything else, because our admission is by donation. So we don't charge for people to come in.
One of the most fun parts of eating there is when the train comes by. And in fact, during the festivities today, one of the Amtrak trains came by, which is always a lot of fun. I like the freight trains. They move a little more slowly, but you can sit there and have a little sandwich and watch the trains go by, and it really gives a great ambiance.
We've had 2 murder mysteries in there. The murder mystery dinners, it's a 3-course dinner with a play that goes on in between. And those are really good fundraisers for us, too. That takes much more planning than just the daytime lunch, but we're working on one for January.
Well, recently we had a chance to talk with Galen Thomas of the Heartland Cultural Alliance, and between the Baseball Museum, the Avon Park Depot Museum, the Peter Paul Roberts Museum of the Arts, this is really kind of a cultural hub now, and you'll have a chance. Doc, do you envision any ball players coming in maybe during spring training and doing some autograph signing, or doing some other things here where fans can both have a chance to meet baseball players and tour the museum here?
Yeah, just based on visits at the other baseball museums, the fact of the matter is you can make the most tremendous baseball museum in the world, but the people don't know about it, So once you get the museum done, then the next step is marketing and events. So we're going to have to really make a strong effort to get the word out all over Florida, all over about what we have here, and also based on some of the other museums, having events, having scheduled events. And for example, in Tampa at the Ybor City Museum, just recently they had some retired baseball players come in and do a book signing and an event. And we've talked to them quite a lot and as to how to do that kind of a thing. And those are the kind of things we're going to want to do. We're going to want to get these retired ball players here, have events to bring people in. Yep.
Of course, Flash Gordon has a lot of friends, and you could maybe have a home run derby, maybe, or
just his family alone.
Yeah.
They are so anxious to have this place open. But even now, we've had so much positive publicity with the murals and with the other activities that we've done here. We have people coming from across the state already. Anyone who is visiting family in Highlands County, you could see our guest book. We have from all kinds of states, Wisconsin, South Carolina, North Carolina, New York, Pennsylvania. I mean, people have come in here from all over the place. And there is a real interest in local history. I mean, when people want to learn about a place, they want to know about the history. And so they find it fascinating to just come in and walk through. So I know that once this is open, somehow people have found us. They look online. We do have a website. So they look online and we get calls all the time. Are you open today? And, people come in people have out-of-town guests and bring them here.
Well, you mentioned the baseball a little earlier. Do you have folks who see either see the mural from Main Street or are driving by and see the Keith Goodson mural and walk in and go, what's this all about exactly?
We have had people this morning. Two guys were, touching the baseballs out there, and then they walk over and said, "What's going on here?" And because we were setting up, and I told them about the dedication, and they wanted to come in. And I said, "Nope, not yet. You got to wait till we're open." And so people do. I think it's the baseballs get people's attention first, and then they notice the murals.
Well, the Keith Goodson murals are spectacular.
They are.
My question is, how much direction did you give him, and how much do you say, Keith, you've got your head, show us what you've got? And maybe he brought you in an artist rendering of what he thought he might do, or how did that work exactly?
Yeah, he had, being that he's a hometown boy, he knew a lot of the baseball history, so it didn't take much. We talked to him some. He did some renderings, and almost from the very beginning, the renderings were just absolutely just spot on. We made some small adjustments. We have some little characters in there that we added, little features, but he just being a hometown boy, being involved in baseball, he knew just about how to put it together and just did an excellent job. And he is so creative. He's just got such a artistic mind that he can, really put these things together. He's just done a tremendous job.
Yeah, he and Thomas were such good. You're fine. He and Thomas were such good friends. I was surprised he didn't give Thomas buck teeth or something. Say, here's a little something, and paint it over. So, but they seem to have been, from very, very early in life, they were good friends, so it's a wonderful mural, and I thought the signing ceremony today was particularly touching, to have him come down and put his signature on at the end. Was that planned? Say, don't sign it yet, wait, we'll have a big to-do about that?
It's my understanding that he's done that with a lot of, some of the ones in Lake
Okay.
Placid, they have had dedication ceremonies.
Now, are there things that you need now to help bring this together? Are you looking for more landscaping? You're looking for money? You're looking for volunteers? Are there things that would help this go more smoothly? Because I guess it's in February of this next year
Right.
that you're going to have the grand hard opening.
There is some landscaping that has to be done, before the cement circle that we had out there with benches around. A lot of people walk through here and then sit down and admire the gardens, and so the sprinkler system is off now for the city. They've got to replace a pump. But once we get that up and running, and once we have that's going to be, the first estimate we got was $13,000 to put the cement back, because we need to have that circle of cement for the benches to be connected to the sidewalks, so that, bikes and wheelchairs, whatever, it has to be done to a certain spec.
ADA standards,
Correct.
yes.
And so that's going to be kind of expensive, and so that has to be done. There are more, the photography and making the pictures that we have usable, and all the electronics that are going to have to go with that. We budgeted initially, we thought it would be like $400,000 for the whole thing. We thought $300 for the construction, $100,000 for the interior. It's going to be $600 and change by the time we're done. But things have things have happened, and we've found, Doc has discovered new things that could be done. Like, the initial plan did not have as many. We only had one interactive computer TV kind of thing in the initial plan, and now they've found spaces where we can have that, and it's going to make it so much more interesting for people. So that all has to be paid for. And the photographs and the enlargement, those plaques and things, that's, we started this 3 years ago, and look what's happened to prices, everything.
Yes.
Everything has been more than what we thought. But what I think is truly amazing about the whole thing, what I'm the most proud of, is that 2/3 of that 600,000 was raised from this community and Highlands County at large, from businesses and individuals. Doc has done a fantastic job of speaking with different groups, just promoting this project to anyone who will listen, and he's just done such a super job. And so we have raised that, well, that's our goal. We haven't quite reached the 400,000 yet. The money still has to come in. But the county, 100,000, and the city, 100,000. So just 1/3 of this is government money. And you look at any other museum or any other, like even the Medal of Honor, that is so beautiful. But they had state money and they had county money. And we raised our money first before we had almost 300,000 before we even asked anyone for anything.
And to be
from
honest,
the government.
the Medal of Honor has gotten a lot of in-kind services with no additional charge.
Right. Well, we did too.
And that's and that's the nice thing is, you really have buy-in when you can say, my company did the landscape, my company put the bathrooms in, my company did this, that, or the other thing.
That's the other thing too, that Terry Heston and his partner John Sedlock engaged mostly local businesses to do the work. And so this really is a source of pride for the community, because the man who did the floor, he is just, you mention it to him and he just beams with pride. He is so proud of this job.
Oh, yes. It's a great piece, yes.
Yeah. So, well, that's what I really appreciated about the whole project, is that it was done by local companies.
Well, today we were able to see a sneak peek, and we were not allowed to take any pictures, sadly, because I think just being able to see the stuff that's going to go in is spectacular. But at the very end, you're going to have an area where you can throw a fastball. And Doc, I want to ask you a question about this. Do you have any idea who's going to throw out the first pitch on this? Are you going to throw the first fastball for this, or are you going to auction it off to somebody? How's that going to work exactly?
That's interesting. I really hadn't given that much thought, but that's a good comment. That could be a famous thing. Who does the first pitch?
People can be bigger and they can be better, but they never can be first.
First, wow,
throw the first pitch out there.
That's a thought. We're gonna have to work on that one. That's a good idea.
I'm always full of good ideas. But that was. Did you have a company offer to do that? Or there was a young man who was explaining what was going to happen. How did that idea come to be? Do you know?
Well, when we started this project, of course, Judy and I are big baseball fans. We've been to every baseball stadium in the country, and in doing this museum, we visited 12 different baseball museums throughout the country, spoke to the directors at each of those museums, took over 800 photographs of those museums to get ideas to put in this museum. We thought, we tried to take a photograph of the best things in their museums. And in Cincinnati, we were there, we saw this strike zone where the kids would throw a soft ball like a baseball into a screen, a vinyl screen, and there's a little hole there. If they could throw a strike, it would go through that little hole. And we were surprised. There was a whole line of kids taking their turn to do it, And it was such a popular thing that we said, wow, that's what we need to do here to bring the kids in. So we're doing exactly the same thing here.
Was there any special trend when probably one of the last questions you always ask is was there something you wish you had done, or something you wish you hadn't done? Did you find that there were things that if we'd done this, we'd have made it bigger, we'd have done this, we'd have done that? Did you find any when you talked to the other museum directors?
Well, if I had all the money in the world, I would make this actually bigger, because we have more to show than we have space here. We're a little tight on space. When we initially started it, that first design was a bigger museum, and then we realized these things are so costly we had to cut it back some. But
it didn't have exhibit space.
It didn't have any exhibit
No,
space?
the first design was for a meeting room that wouldn't have had exhibit space.
Oh,
So
my.
this is bigger than what the original design was for exhibit space, because some people wanted us to have a meeting room here. But we have the building across the street that we're in partnership with them, and they're very generous with us. When we want to have a program or we need that space over there, we use the community center.
You're talking about the community center,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
And that's a very nice
Right.
space over there. That for the folks who haven't heard my interview with Gail and Thomas, you really need to listen to it. But that at one time was the NCNB Bank building,
Mm-hmm.
which the county the city took over and made it into a meeting room. So
And they're very community-minded. If some community group wants to use it, there are fees involved in using that building because they have to maintain it, and they have restrooms that they maintain and everything. But if it's a community group, they're very reasonable and generous with the building.
So Doc, I just want to ask one more question here. Is there anything special that you are looking for that you would really like to have for the display? If somebody knows where those newspapers from the 1923, is it 20 through 25?
No, it's 1927.
The 1927, if they're looking for the Avon Park Sun newspapers from 1927, some pictures that were hanging in the jacaranda that are gone, if those surfaced, they would be no questions asked, but you'd find a place in here for them, or anything else you're looking for in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've made it known to the players that have played here in Avon Park, especially the high school players, to bring in their memorabilia and their things. And we've had some jackets, which you can see behind you here at the museum. And but it's been a little slow at coming in. So I think as we're developing the museum, like yesterday, we had two more shirts come in. So that was good. We have some cleats and things. But I know the players have at home things that are special to them because when they played here in Avon Park. And what we tell them is when you bring it to the museum, we sign an agreement that you're loaning it to us. Okay. We don't own it. You can exhibit it here, and if you want it back in the future, or your kids or grandkids want it, they can come and get it. You're loaning it to the museum. So we still are looking for a lot of that. Anything that the community has that would be great.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been looking for the Doc 70 rookie card, but I have not found it yet. So, but we're still in search of that, So, but it's an amazing exhibit. Nancy, one more question for you is that we got a sneak peek today. Are there going to be any other times when you pop the doors on this and let people kind of have a walkthrough, or are we going to wait until February when this finally
I'm not
opens
sure.
up?
We do have a museum, a membership, it's a museum open house and an opportunity for folks to come in and pay their membership for next year. And we serve refreshments in the dining car. We'll have to decide. Today, I was a little dismayed that people walked through here with open drink containers and they were touching things, and they can't help it. That's why we don't really want many people in here, because these precious things have not been placed in cases yet. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not really afraid that we're going to miss anything. I just don't want anything to get damaged. Or
You don't want grape-ola and stuff? Yeah.
So that's why we really have to be really ready before we allow a lot of people in here. So I'm not sure, but it's, as you look around, you can see there are a lot of things that probably are not going to make their way into a case right now, but at another time, like in the museum, the history part, we do have exhibits up for like 6 to 8 months at a time, and then we will rotate that out and put something else, create another one, because we want to have different things for people to see. So when they, I didn't see that before. And so,
So if someone wants to become a member of the Avon Park Historical Society, how much does that cost? What does that involve exactly?
It's $25 for an individual for a year, $35 for a family, and $75 for a business. We have about 30 local businesses that support us. Okay. And they also do other things during the year. If we need something, we can sometimes call up and, someone will make a special donation or something. Right now, we are working to get the ramp replaced that goes up the track side of the dining car. There's some rotten wood in there, and it's got to be replaced. The Rotary put that in over 10 years ago, and the wood has rotted now, some of it. But today, it was a miracle. Someone came in, one of our members, a metal ramp had been donated to their church. It was a handicap ramp that someone had at their home, and he thinks it's long enough to go there. So all we have to do is get the rotted wood replaced, that's the support for it, or take it out completely, but we won't have to buy the walkway part. We'll have to get the railings and stuff, but that's a huge blessing to be able to, because we had no idea what that was going to cost. We have a contractor who's going to give us an estimate soon, so we'll figure out what's involved. But things like that happen. It's wonderful. People, now that the museum has gotten a lot more publicity, people think of us. The other day, a lady was at the chamber, and the museum was closed, and so she came by the chamber and she said, "My mother has passed, my grandmother has passed, and they belong to Eastern Star." She has a bunch of pictures, and she had an Eastern Star cookbook, and she has jewelry and other memorabilia, and she said, "I can't keep it at my house. Do you think there's some place around here?" And I said, there's a museum up the street. Turn left at the baseballs. But so that's how we, people think of us now and bring things. And the lady did grow up in, the lady who's a lot of the memorabilia is from Avon Park. And so that will be another piece of history. The fraternal organization, the Masons, are still going strong, but the Eastern Star had to merge with Mulberry. But that's a piece of Avon Park history that we'll be able to share.
If people want to find out more about this, are you online? Do you have a social media presence? Where do they find you exactly?
Well, right now, our website has just been upgraded, and it's historicalsociety.org, I think, or .com. But just look up Avon Park Historical Society, and it'll take you to our website. Or I think Depot Museum is another one that might get you there.
Okay.
But eventually, people will be able to pay their membership online. Since we've just gotten it upgraded and everything, we want that to make it easier for folks. But the person who was in charge of that, unfortunately, we have a board member who is not doing well right now, and our prayers go out to Rick Helms and his wife. He's going through a difficult time, but he's a hard worker here at the museum. We really miss him a lot. So hopefully he'll be back with us fairly soon. But so right now we're kind of at a loss as to what to do with but Del Delaney is helping us, so we should be, but anyway, the museum is open Wednesday through Saturday from 10 to 3. And so we welcome visitors, we welcome volunteers. In fact, just this past week, just today, there was a lady who, her grandson plays Dixie Youth baseball, and she wants to come in and volunteer.
Oh, good.
And so we need volunteers, and it's not hard. All we need is someone to greet people. Anyone who likes to tell baseball stories, we need people to just stay in this room and greet guests. And anyone who, there are all kinds of other jobs, because we do not have any paid staff here. We are all volunteers. But it's really, we have a good time, and we're proud of what we do. But we would welcome more help.
Nancy, Doc, you're on the upward swing there, buddy. Go for the fences. We really appreciate all the hard work you've done, and it finally is gelling up. It really looks beautiful here. So
and thank you, Barry, for putting the word out there to the public and making them aware of our big endeavor.
It's my pleasure. Coming to you from the Avon Park Historical Society, the Baseball Museum portion. This is Barry Foster with Doc Sevigny and Nancy Fisk. And remember, we'll see you next time.